You are an electric bass player and you were always curious about the double bass. The double bass looks huge in comparison, no frets, strings that don't want to end, and monster action. Seems like you completely have to relearn your bass playing technique. I say it's easier than you think. Here's my crash course on double bass technique for electric bass players, so you can hit the ground running or play. You are closer than you think. Think of it as a fretless with a huge box attached. The strings are the same, E, A, D, G, and the scale is not that different, especially when you hold the vibrating string parts next to each other. The area covered on the fingerboard is also pretty small. It stops at the F here, and you are unlikely to play the low strings in high positions. And you will survive a gig without reaching over the body and playing the fancy bar thumb technique. But it's a good idea hitting the G and D harmonics. That's a pretty neat trick. Cheat a little. It would take years to learn the double bass properly from scratch. Greatest challenge is the lack of frets and orientation on the fingerboard. Intonation, meaning playing every note in tune, seems very hard. Simple trick, apply the electric bass markers to the side of the fretboard and maybe the octave one to the front. Use harmonics to find the right position. I use simple acrylic paint to brush on, scratch off, and reapply. Strict on posture. Have your eyes where you play. Where do you play most of the time? In the first position. Adjust your end pin so you can comfortably look at your left hand. This helps with your back, posture, and getting tired. Aim for a 45-degree angle to your body and rest it on your hip and tummy. As an electric bass player, you would tend to do the 90 degrees, do the left hand reach around, lock it in with a leg, and use the better angle on the right hand side. Not a good look. You want to see both the instrument and the player. Try a stool. You can lock in the instrument quite well between your legs, but stay flexible. You should be able to do both. Find a 3 to 4 finger hybrid position. The idea is to apply as many patterns that you already know. A traditional double bass technique uses 3 fingers per position, index, middle, little finger chromatically, which makes you change position a lot and drift out of tune. Try and play an electric bass pattern in a higher position. Moving down, check when you have to change to 3 fingers. Me personally, I can play 4 fingers all the way down to the first position, but I change to 3 fingers depending on the tune. You are more out of tune than you think. After a little double bass practice, you might think you're gig ready. It sounds okay at home, and you're fooled by the richness of the sound. The surprise comes when you add other instruments and you realize how much you are out of tune. Use plenty of play-alongs, tune your bass frequently, and record yourself. Empty strings are gold. On an electric bass, you would often avoid empty strings. They sound thinner and give you less control. Complete opposite on a double bass. They sound great and full, take the load of the left hand and help you stay in tune. On an electric bass, you would play a bass line like this. Whereas on a double bass, you would include empty strings. Rethink your right hand. The massive string action and distance between the strings requires some serious adjusting for your right hand. Your electric bass technique pretty much gets useless, and even if you try applying the electric bass hand position, the tone is nasal and thin. Turn your hand and play with a larger area of your finger. Put some skin in your tone and it becomes warm and full. Day and night difference. And here comes a big one. Playing with one finger is okay. You can play with 2 fingers, you can play with 3 fingers, but it requires a lot of practice to get it even and right. You see a lot of traditional jazz players just playing with 1 finger. It's good sound and it's an even sound. A rake is a great way of playing faster and funkier notes on the double bass. A rake is to use your index finger and pluck 2, 3, or 4 strings in one sweep hand motion while keeping your fingers sturdy. It's a very economic way of playing, and you don't tire out when you have to lean into the instrument, but you're gonna have to develop some very tough skin for it. Don't run out of steam. The double bass is a very physical instrument. Be realistic when you're ready for the first gig. Slowly build up tougher skin and joints. You don't want to end up with blisters and soreness. So I think it's enough to get your kick started on the double bass. Like and subscribe and let me know how you go in the comments.